立法會主席。
President. Members' motion. Motion of thanks. Honourable Andrew LEUNG will move this motion. Honourable Frederick Fong, Honourable Sin Chung Kai, Honourable Sit Ho, Honourable Chung Kwok Chi, Honourable Lee Chuk Yen, and Honourable Dr. Fernando Cheung wish to move amendments to the motion, and Honourable Wong Kwok Heng wishes to move an amendment to Honourable Lee Chuk Yen's amendment. I've accepted the recommendations of the House Committee on the time limits for speeches in the debate, i.e. each member may speak in any of the 5 debate sessions, but he or she may only speak once in each session, subject to the total speaking time limit of 30 minutes. Honourable Andrew LEUNG, as mover of the motion, will have an additional 15 minutes speaking time for moving the motion and making reply. In addition, he will have another 5 minutes to speak on the amendments. Like all other members, the movers of the motion and of the amendments may speak in any of the 5 debate sessions. I will invite the members concerned to move amendments after the 5 debate sessions have ended. In each session, I will first of all call upon those members who wish to speak. After members have spoken, if necessary, I will suspend the meeting for 10 minutes for the relevant public officers to prepare their responses. Only public officers may speak when the Council resumes. If public officers consider the break not necessary, I will not suspend the meeting. The total speaking time limit for the public officers in each session will depend on the number of public officers attending the session. After the public officers have spoken, the debate session will come to a close. The ending time for today's and tomorrow's debates will be about 10 p.m. but may be extended for 30 minutes if necessary. The debates for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow will start at 9 a.m. If the debates for the day after tomorrow cannot be finished by about 10 p.m., the meeting will be extended until the debate has finished. After the 5 debate sessions have ended, Honourable Andrew LEUNG may speak on the amendments. I will then call upon movers of amendments to move amendments one after another. After the amendments have been voted upon, Honourable Andrew LEUNG may reply. Finally, members will vote on the original motion or on the motion as amended. I now call upon Honourable Andrew LEUNG to speak and move the motion. Honourable Andrew LEUNG. President, in my capacity as Chairman of the House Committee, I'd like to move the motion of thanks on the policy address. This is the first policy address of the 4th Chief Executive, and the first motion of thanks in the 5th term. I am glad to move this motion in my capacity as Chairman of the House Committee. I am so honored, and I must point out that this motion doesn't have any direction. In accordance with our usual practice, we will be exercising our duty under Basic Law Article 73(4) to listen to the policy address and engage in a debate. Members are welcome to express their views in these 5 debate sessions over the next couple of days. I'm sure we agree that community is getting increasingly polarized, and it is posing difficulties to the new administration. The new administration is experiencing a lot of difficulties. We're faced with so many social problems: inadequate housing, parallel goods, trading, education for young people, job opportunities, and aging demographics. We ardently hope that the new administration will be able to resolve all these problems, and the sentiments are understandable. In his policy address, the chief executive mentioned that he wishes to serve the people with pragmatism. I think we are all pulling in the same direction. We hope that the administration will develop the economy and benefit the members of the public. President, on this question of relationship between the executive and the legislature, the 200-paragraph policy address is completely silent on this. I am a little bit disappointed about it. But on the 17th of January, in the Q&A session, the chief executive emphasized that he attached great importance to the relationship between the executive and the legislature, and he needed the support of LegCo in his policies. LegCo is here to monitor the administration and offers its views, but we are not on a collision course with the executive. A sound and robust ExCo and LegCo relationship would be important for the administration to take forward policies regarding the economy and livelihood. And this will also assist us in playing a role, a monitoring role. We do have partnership through communication and dialogues. We can serve the members of the public that much better. On the other hand, after the House Committee meetings, together with the Deputy Chairman, we will be meeting the Chief Secretary and get across the message to her and to foster better communication. I'm glad that the CS has been willing to listen to our views. After the Lemma collision, the Chief Secretary, together with her team, came down to LegCo in the first instance to bring us up to date about the aftermath of the incident. And this is a manifestation of a good accountability of the executive to the legislature. LegCo is also here to scrutinize bills and enact legislation. This is something that we are very concerned about. At our meeting with the CS, I've already made the point that it is normally the practice for the administration to introduce bills to the council at a very, very late stage, and therefore we don't really have time to scrutinize them in sufficient detail. In accordance with the legislative program, there will be 6 bills to be introduced for the first 6 months, including the District Council Amendment Bill that abolishes the appointment system in the district councils, and there will be 8 for the second half of the year. But so far we have seen 2. There is going to be another one that will be introduced on the 6th of February. We urge the administration to introduce the bills as soon as possible in order not to hamper our scrutiny work. The CS gave the undertaking that through the internal monitoring mechanism, she would ask the relevant bureaus to introduce the bills according to the program. We've started for just a couple of months. I urge the administration to do more practical work to improve the relationship between the executive and the legislature. So I speak. President, I would like to express my personal views regarding the policy address. There are 30-odd paragraphs on the economy in the PA. It shows that the chief executive is also attaching importance to the economic development. As in accordance with the BPA's philosophy, we need to improve the economy, to improve the livelihood. I'm glad that the Chief Executive shares the same ideas as the BPA. I would like to say something on behalf of the BPA as follows. The Chief Executive undertook to establish the FSDC and EDC. I was appointed as a member of the latter. As regards the establishment of the FSDC, I think it is something good for Hong Kong. But in terms of its terms of reference, the role and the way forward, we don't really have a very clear idea. There are so many question marks hanging over the FSDC. I hope that there would be greater transparency so that members and members of the public would get a better understanding. Also, when FSDC explores the market for economic development, that it should guard against any overzealous supervision. We have to strike a balance between supervision and development. I'm sure that with the concerted effort of the government and the sectors, renminbi business, insurance, in particular renminbi insurance products, the futures and securities, I'm sure that there will be great developments in these areas. I'm sure that we can play a leading role the world over so as to buttress our position as an international financial center. As to the development of the EDC, Economic Development Council Commission, this is the first step towards the goal of developing our economy. Recently, at a luncheon meeting, a lot of people pointed out that the Chief Executive didn't mention any industrial policy and also the development of IT industry. Now we have the high technology and creative industry task group. I hope that this can get on with its work as soon as possible and adopt a far-sighted attitude in order to formulate all the relevant policies. We have to identify the new emerging industries that can have advantage. Shipping, tourism, professional services, they also face stiff competition from the region. If we are standing still, we will be lagging behind. Convention and exhibition, Hong Kong accepts a lot of orders from the SMEs, but given the stiff competition, given the lack of space for exhibition, we have lost an awful lot of opportunities. We do have high expectation on the development in this area. Mr. Kwek So mentioned at the panel that he would map out the blueprint for Hong Kong. Not only do we need to have a blueprint, we also need to have the fallback option, like the short-term measures in order to support the manufacturing industry in Hong Kong and emerging industries in Hong Kong. President, I am a representative of the Federation of Industries. I also run factories myself. The policy address is silent on industry. We're very disappointed about it. In a developed jurisdiction, it would attach importance to the development of industry. It is considered one of the pillars. Japan, Korea, they have electronics. Germany, they have heavy industry, automobile. Switzerland, they have chocolate timepieces and medicine and so on. Singapore, they have the petroleum industry and so on. The industries in Hong Kong did see its heydays, but as the production has shifted across the border, people get a feeling that we don't have any more industries in Hong Kong, we don't need any industry at all. In fact, the industrial sector has been adding value to themselves, and they're moving up the high-tech chain, like automobile parts and the recycling industry and so on. They very much hope that they would develop the fourth database center to support the iCloud technology. But we're running out of space in Hong Kong. There are some industrialists who told me that they meant to come back to Hong Kong, but because of the absence of any long-term industrial policy and the lack of support in terms of land policy, and they would rather choose to move to Singapore to set up the headquarters in the region. Hong Kong has to lose an awful lot of opportunities there.
A sound manufacturing sector can also help us withstand economic turmoil and also to shelter us from the risk of high unemployment in times of financial crisis. The government should adopt a new mindset towards industry. We should go for high-value added industries, design, branding, marketing, and then for the lower stream operations such as manufacturing, assembling, we can do that in other places. We should give up the laissez-faire approach towards the industry. Under free market, we should also chart a long-term direction for the industrial sector so that we can see development in the long term. We have always asked the government to earmark land for the fourth industrial estate and also to review the land use policy for existing industrial estates. Now the government is giving us the impression that we are only identifying land for residential development. We don't want to see our industries marginalized. In the Northeast NT, we're going to develop Hon Sui Kiu and other places into new towns. But a well-developed new town is not just about residential buildings. There must be community facilities and there must be economic activities. So if we have industrial development in these new towns, there will be job opportunities for those who live there. Look at how we develop Sha Tin and Tai Po. Apart from building the residential units, there's also the provision of shops and industrial premises so that people can find jobs there. So we have to be careful. Through proper land policy, we should develop the local economy for the people living there. Let's not repeat the mistake we made in Tin Shui Wai. Therefore, in planning for future land use, we must give some thought to balanced development. We cannot just look at real estate and ignore other commercial and industrial activities. Chairman, President, you don't have to pay attention to that. Please continue. President, the policy address also talk about cooperation with the mainland and the full implementation of CEPA, and also to try out the pilot scheme, early pilot scheme in Guangdong for professional services. So we'll be led into an exploration in the north. This is the right direction to go. CEPA to SMEs is a mixed blessing. It enhances cooperation and it facilitates trade. But they always face this problem of the opening up being more in the abstract terms than in reality. And many trades and industries have to face the challenges of transformation and upgrading. They have to explore more overseas markets. There has not been any specific discussion on how to implement CEPA in the municipalities and provinces. So when we meet difficulties in the district or cities concerned, we'll have to take up the matter with the local governments. We are glad that the policy address recognized the difficulties faced by Hong Kong businessmen. And a liaison group will be set up on CEPA to provide better support and also to better communicate with regulators and governments in the local district, in the local level. I believe this will help Hong Kong businesses and expanding their presence on the mainland, and it's good for our competitive edge. Many countries would like to help their enterprises to have access to the mainland and to other Asian countries. European countries have sent delegations to various Asian countries to explore market development. Well, we envy them. The BPA would like the government to do more. For example, we want to promote Hong Kong Create brand to tie in with promotional efforts of enterprises, Hong Kong enterprises. Hong Kong brand is a reputable brand on the mainland, but SMEs is facing difficulty with the lack of a network, and promotion for them is very difficult. If we can do this collectively to enhance the image of Hong Kong brand on the mainland, then we can develop our advanced standing, and our style can also be given more the coverage and prominence. And we can also take the opportunity to promote our services to mainland enterprises. And then we can also do more in the first, second, and third tier cities in the Pearl River Delta. We can attract not just consumers' attention, but also business opportunity, and the efforts will be much more effective. We welcome the reorganization of the Greater Pearl Delta Committee into a higher level body. We hope that the committee will not just be about talking shop. The business sector attaches more importance to achievements. Empty talk is not going to be helpful. Presidents, apart from exploring the mainland market, we should also leverage on our geographical position and serve to promote the cooperation between ASEAN and China. We should be a partner of ASEAN in communicating with China, so that the link can be even stronger. In a globalized economy and the shift of economic gravity to the east, we cannot afford to look at just the development in one country. Economics must become considered in a regional context. The trade between China and ASEAN has been growing very fast. In this free trade area, there will be a population of 1.9 billion people, which makes it the biggest FTA. And the trade volume has exceeded 400 billion, and a 20% increase. And it's the third largest FTA after the one in EU and in North America. In 2011, trade with ASEAN accounted for 10.2% of us. This exceeds the trade between Hong Kong and EU. We have an advantage, and that is that we have the backing of one country, two systems, and the proximity to Asian countries. This forms a strong foundation for Hong Kong. 5 Asian countries are among the top 20 trade partners with Hong Kong, including Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, and the Philippines. And re-export to Hong Kong to China has increased from 33.6 billion in 2008 to 44.2 billion in 2011. And the Indian market is also a big market with great potential. Unfortunately, there is no communication channel established between Hong Kong and Asian countries that is good enough to facilitate growth. We enjoy geographical advantages. We are the gateway to China for many enterprises. We also provide opportunities to mainland enterprises to go out, to go global. We can also provide professional services to Asian countries in relation to the access to China. We can also serve China's enterprises in going global by providing the necessary professional services to them. And this would also facilitate our development as a maritime and logistic hub. Therefore, I urge the administration to join the China-ASEAN FTA as soon as possible to seize the opportunities. The CE doesn't speak a lot about support for Hong Kong's access to traditional markets. These markets may not be developing very fast, but they still account for a big share of our trade volume. And many SMEs are very reliant on the traditional markets. And these markets are showing signs of recovery. The administration must continue to pay attention to market development and extend support and help to enterprises as and when necessary. President, in the past couple of years, we have been talking a lot about the 6 major industries where we have advantages. We have many talents. We have a modern exhibition and convention facilities and also other professionals. If we can be a part of the China-ASEAN FTA, we will be serving 1.9 billion people in markets which show great potential. This will help us enhance living standard all round in the region. We should leverage on this opportunity to develop Hong Kong as a hub for education, testing, accreditation, medical and healthcare services. Although education is one of the 6 major industries identified previously, we should develop Hong Kong as a hub to attract overseas students. As an international city, we should invest in our education and invest more in education and tertiary education in particular, so as to train a sufficient number of professionals in accordance with our industry policy. This will be the impetus of our future growth. And the administration should also encourage continuous education, and there should be more vocational training, such as hotel management, and more opportunities should be given to our young people for training and further education. We have a very good team of healthcare personnel in Hong Kong, although this is not going to make a lot of money for Hong Kong. But if we can develop Hong Kong into a healthcare center for the region, then we can train up more healthcare professionals to relieve the pressure of frontline healthcare workers, and our healthcare standard can also be enhanced. We can provide better services for our people. We can also export our healthcare services and become a healthcare center of the region. Some professional services such as financial, real estate, engineering, accounting, testing, accreditation, and so on and so forth have been enjoying advantages regionally. They have international expertise. And as a result, they have become part of Hong Kong brand. With the development on the mainland, we can also seize the opportunity of promoting the branding for the mainland. There should be further extension of cooperation between Hong Kong and the mainland in promoting branding. We are also well placed to be an asset management and intellectual property rights management center. But we have competitors. They are very competitive. We should develop Hong Kong into a patent registration center for the region. I welcome the expert group to be set up, which will look into the strategy and the relevant support measures to be introduced. both the Federation of Industries and the BPA would like to leverage on our well-established systems and professional services in setting up our own patents or office and set up a local patents registration system. We should learn from Singapore and cooperate with China's patent registration office in setting up our own system. And we can approve patents and issue certificates after the relevant important components have been vetted by our partner vetting bodies.
Tourism is an indispensable industry for Hong Kong. We enjoy the good reputation of being a gourmet and shopping paradise, but we should not just have in mind the interest of visitors who come to Hong Kong to purchase daily necessities and formula milk. We should elevate Hong Kong to a higher level where visitors can come to Hong Kong to enjoy their holiday. In 2010, according to the Tourism Commission, there was an increase of 16% of number of tourists. Among them, those coming from the mainland has shown an increase of 24.2%. On the contrary, for higher level, higher class tourists, say for example those from the US and the Europe, there is a negative increase. Does it mean that Hong Kong is no longer appealing to them? If you look at other neighboring countries, Macau or Singapore, the tourism infrastructure and supporting facilities have been improved a great deal in recent years. In Macau, they have focused on developing tourism, and in Tapa, there are a number of internationally renowned hotels, and there are more tourist spots, turning Macau into a tourist bright spot in Asia. And there has been a steady increase of visitors coming from US and Europe by 2%. And Sentosa has become a well-known tourist spot. There is a Tiger Sky Tower, Singapore's Universal Studio and Sky Tower have attracted a lot of overseas visitors. And since 1997, there has been a lack of tourist infrastructure facilities in Hong Kong. And the Disneyland was only commissioned a long time afterwards. And the Kai Tak Terminal, the first berth, will be commissioned in the middle of this year. Ngong Ping 360. For the phase 2, we have to wait for a number of other years. And it was only commissioned in 2006. 30th of June. So by comparison, we have been dwarfed, and we have been shown to be very passive. Last year, I spent a few days in Singapore. I noticed that there are a lot of European and Japanese visitors who would spend a lot of money, and people find it to be a family-friendly tourist destination. And when it comes to Hong Kong, there is a remarkable increase of visitors coming from the mainland, but we should not neglect other visitors, because we have to maintain a pluralistic tourism culture to show Hong Kong to be an international metropolis. When it comes to tourism, I want to talk about local snacks and gourmet dishes. In the past, we've read that small shops will find it difficult to operate because they can't find good chefs. But now, the reason for their closure is because of high rental. Michelin Guide have released the latest list. There are a number of small shops that have enjoyed good reputation. They couldn't even wait for the Michelin star before they close because of high rental. If we are to maintain our reputation as a gourmet paradise, we have to deal with the ever-increasing rental charges. Otherwise, visitors will come to Hong Kong only to see chain stores. There won't be any special shops selling, say, for example, wonton noodles. We'll also have to actively train the new generation to join the industry, not just to train them to prepare a grand a 9-course dinner, also to train them to be chefs of special little snacks. Livelihood issues are also concerned of the BPA. The CE has in its policy address gone through these issues. We hope that the FS in his budget will give us a positive response. Say, for example, for SMEs with a revenue of lower than $3 million will be given lower profits tax of, say, 10%, and they will be given assistance to increase their competitiveness and also to introduce tax relief for SMEs to help them. I would also like to talk about the SME guarantee scheme. At the beginning of the financial tsunami, I and my fellow members lobby about the use of this scheme to cushion the impact on SMEs. We have preserved a lot of SMEs and over 300,000 jobs. We asked to regularize this scheme and to launch the special scheme of 80% guarantee for 9 months. The application will end in end of February 2013. And given the slack international global economic environment, I think this there is a need for it to continue. The extension, the application period should be at least extended by 1 year, and the interest and the rate should be close to the prime rate to help SMEs to raise funds to deal with cash flow difficulties. And I would like to point out here, Mr. President, that there are a number of measures in the policy address with the policy initiative, policy agenda. People have high expectations because of the details. We expect them to be implemented shortly, and we know that there will be obstacles and hindrance in the way. I hope the CE and his team will be tolerant and to pool all our efforts together to implement the various initiatives and measures in the policy address. I so submit. I now propose a question to you, and that is the motion moved by Mr. Andrew LEUNG be passed.